Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of Young, Gifted, and Broke. Broke. So I was invited. I'm Thakane-Rethabile. I'm a financial coach, speaker, and content creator. I was invited by Thakane-Rethabile to do this series of episodes, Young, Gifted, and Broke. This is the very first episode, and we hope to bring you engaging, electrifying, emotional content that will really help Thakane transform her life. Thakane, welcome to... I don't know who's the host. I'm the host. She's my co-host.
Yes,
so
co-host.
welcome back. Welcome back. This is what I mean. Back
Welcome.
from what? Welcome to Young, Gifted, and Broke.
Yes,
This is your journey.
We've done something before, so that's why I said welcome back.
Of course.
Yes.
We've done the podcast on money adventures.
Yes.
And I think after you've introduced yourself, I would really want us to talk about why we are doing Young, Gifted, and Broke.
Okay.
So over to you.
Okay.
Introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are. And by the way, you're looking very beautiful.
Thank you.
There's something about black that just looks...
About older that just looks. Anyway, hi guys, I'm Thakane-Rethabile. This is our first episode of Young, Gifted, and Broke. I'm co-hosting with TK, and we'll see. Let's get into it.
So without wasting any more time, let's dive straight into, like you said, Young, Gifted, and Broke. Why? What's the thinking behind Young, Gifted, and Broke?
Okay, so I was thinking to myself, I think this was after we did our podcast that we talked about. I think we'll share it with everybody else. So I listened to it and I was like, okay, I'm youngish because I'm 30.
Thriving 30s.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm gifted, no doubt. But I don't see the money. Like, what's all this talent leading to? So I thought, okay, maybe I need to speak to a qualified person as to why I'm not making as much money as I thought I would.
Okay. So for me, when you say you wanted to speak to somebody who is qualified and somebody who is, well, in this case, a financial coach, what do you look for when you're looking for a financial coach? What are some of the attributes, traits?
I look for relatability. Because obviously, finance people now. I didn't want some guy in a suit. No, I did not want that. I wanted somebody I could have a decent conversation with without being afraid, without hiding some aspects or feeling like I'm being judged. So that's why you came in. I was like, oh, TK will understand.
And I'm not wearing a suit.
No,
I'm not
thank
wearing.
God.
I'm wearing shorts. It's a Sunday. We're having a drink as well. Because for me,
Yes.
what I've seen over the years is not that I encourage people to drink alcohol,
Of course.
but for me, the most vulnerable people become is when they're in a safe space, when they are most relaxed. And obviously, like you said, very relatable to say that this is what I'm going through. And sometimes liquid courage.
It does, because I could not bear to talk about my finances on a sober, 'cause there's a mess. Like I said, I made a blog post, you talked about it, and I said it's a wahala. So
Talking about that blog post, we will drop it in the description box below.
Yeah.
And for me, what I really want to ask you, now that you've invited me to do this journey with you, is what are people going to expect? What are you expecting from this particular series of episodes? What does a future look like for Young, Gifted, and Broke?
Okay. For myself, obviously, I want to grow in my finances. I want to get rich. I want to be popping bottles. Of course. But I think I've been very shy about my finances for a long time. And I think it's because I couldn't find anybody who was going through the same thing. People seem to be thriving, so I sort of hid back in my little shell. So what I'd like for people watching this is to relate. I want somebody who sees this, so you know what? I see myself in there, and this applies to me. I can get better at finances too. Yeah.
And for me, I would love to start with what you said in the blog, in the podcast, where we were talking about pressure and the pressure that comes up with that. And Thakane-Rethabile, thriving 30s, there you were before you got to 30, and you used to blow your rent money.
I was young and foolish.
Young and foolish.
Yes.
Rent money. How does one get to a point, given the pressure context in place, how does one get to a point where you get so desperate to keep up with the Thakanes, the Ntebes, or the TKs that you end up spending your rent money?
I think it's that thing that we don't communicate. Like I said in the podcast, I think TK is doing well. TK thinks Thakane is doing well. So I can't come to you and say, you know what, I can't afford to do this month. I need to do 1, 2, 3. And you also can't come to me. There's all that secrecy. There's that facade that we all keep up. Yeah. And it really gets hard because now you go home and you're in your space and you realize, I don't have this money, but I can't tell my friends. And it sort of builds up to what kind of friendships do we have if we can't be that vulnerable to each other, with each other, sorry. Yeah.
And talking about vulnerability, I want to take it all the way back to you, and then I'll get back to your relationship with your mom, okay? What about money would you say?
Really go there.
Of course, we're going to have to go there.
Oh, God.
So what would you say for you, Thakane, is what about money is important for you? And before we went on camera, we were talking about your dreams. You have dreams of you were in your 30s, thriving 30s, and you're trying to look hot.
I am.
You're trying to look hot. You're trying to have the TV or video face. But what about money is specifically important? And have you actually ever written that down? What about money is important for you?
I think money for me is freedom. Money is the freedom to, like we talked about my mother, money is the freedom to walk out of a bad marriage. Money is the freedom to walk away from a bad job. It's basically being able to define your life, not staying in spaces where you're uncomfortable. Simply because if I walk away, how am I going to feed my kids? How am I going to pay the bond, for example?
So, if I understand you correctly, you'd say that money provides security for you.
It does.
What else does it do for you besides security? I feel
It makes me happy.
Obviously, happiness comes, but I want more. Tell me more. So, security, happiness, what else? We at least need to get about 5 things that are important for you.
5?
When it comes to money. Of course.
Okay.
Technically, we should get to
freedom,
7.
We have security. We have love. Like I said, I love money.
Love in what sense? Let's unpack a bit about that.
I think it also goes to self-worth. I know it's shallow, but the truth is the more money you have, the more your confidence. You can walk into a room and not feel intimidated.
Is that fact or fiction?
I think for me, that is.
Okay.
Yes. I feel confident when I have money.
Okay.
Yes. I feel like if whatever happens, I'll be able to take care of it. Yes.
Does this relate to, would you say that this relates to your money personality? So in finance, we normally talk about your money personality. How you grew up around money or what was said around money shapes who you become.
Okay.
So would you say that, firstly, have you identified what your money personality is? And then secondly, would you say what you just said now relates, in fact, let me take it a step back. What are your values? That's the kind of shot.
Okay. I don't know if I'm answering the question right.
There's
but
no right or wrong answer.
I did do the money personality quiz. I think it was NetBank. I think I saw it on, I'm not sure which blog, probably Mapalos. And then my money personality is the spender.
Spender. Is there some truth to it?
There is, yes, there is. And I think for me, I spend more on other people than myself.
Okay.
So I think money has been a way that I've probably bought affection. I think with my family, with my friends. Like if there's a problem, if you're unhappy with me, you know what, I'll get you a gift.
Ah.
Yes. And it also worked for me. If you made me unhappy, don't just say sorry. Show me.
So what happens in the event where, like I was late today for the episode, and I am genuinely sorry because I'm hardly ever late for anything.
Yeah.
So now that you have this expectation that, you know what, my money relationship is I'm a spender.
Yes.
Mine may not necessarily be a gifter, which is the other one. You know, my money personality is I come across as very frugal. I'm a responsible spender. I want to save as much as I possibly can because I need financial security.
Yeah.
So what happens in the event where you will have these expectations as a spender to say that TK is late for the meeting and TK said he's sorry, but you're just like, no, but TK, no.
You know, I read somewhere, I think I'll keep referencing to reading because I read a lot.
Okay.
That your love language is probably what you lacked as a child. And I remember I made a joke on social media that my love language is money, which is not completely a joke. My love. And I thought, okay, maybe it's because I lacked money as a child. So for me...
Did you lack money or did your parents lack money?
Well, obviously, if my parents lack money, I lack money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So maybe that's why I equate being sorry to actually showing me with money. I equate big events. If it's my birthday, you'll show up with money because it's something that's been lacking in my life. Yeah. So now that you're here and you're saying, I'm sorry, and you're not...
showing the money.
Yeah.
Showing the money.
You know, and I'm thinking, you're just kissing my hand like...
Kissing.
No, sir, like put your money where your mouth is.
Talking about kissing, I know this will come out in the next few episodes. Kissing. You have a blog post that says kissing frogs.
Yes.
We're going to touch about a bit on that. But for me, what I want to think is young, gifted, and broke. You have all these gifts. You are, in the podcast, we spoke about you being a thought leader. Yes. We spoke about you being a publisher. We spoke about you also saying that you're using your salary to fund your dreams.
Yes.
So where I want to go at is let's tap into a bit of that. Let's expand a bit on that. How do you actually use your money to fund your dreams?
Okay. I'm obviously looking into content creation. Then I'm taking a bit of my salary to pay for home Wi-Fi Unlimited. I will pay for content creation. I will take online courses. I'm doing an online course now on marketing, digital marketing, and all of that. Yeah.
Okay. And would you say that these things that you're doing with your money, are they aligned with your financial goals? Do you have financial goals to start off with? Okay. Let's talk about the financial goals.
Okay, long term or short term?
Short term, medium term, and long term.
Okay, my short term goal right now is to pay off my consumer debt. That's the one thing that
The same debt that you spoke about in the podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm happy to say I've made my first installment with FNB.
FNB, how can we help you?
Yes.
Hint, hint, she paid back the money.
Well, not all of it, obviously.
Well, a start. So it's a start.
Yes, and I did talk to one of the people in credit to talk about, okay, how can I afford this? And they're very helpful, I must say. Yeah, so...
Now that you mention it, before we move on, in the podcast you spoke about the appointment had not happened because you couldn't get a meeting with the bank.
Yes.
Now that you finally got the meeting with the bank, how did you feel before the meeting, the night before? What was going through your mind?
We still haven't done the meeting. Hey? We've been talking via email.
That's fine. It's communication, yeah.
It is.
Okay.
I felt a bit scared. Because I felt like I was going to be judged. Like, here you are, you have this debt, you haven't been paying it. And in the past few years, you've been, well, I don't want to be, when I say I've been living my best life, but comfortably. So I just felt like they were judging me. But I talked to her and she was very understanding, very empathetic. And I made my first payment and they sent me my statement. And I loved the interaction I had with the person who was helping me.
I want to take it a step back. In the podcast, when you spoke about the debt you owe FNB, right? You did not mention that this is a loan that you took, but you are not paying. So I was under the assumption that you were paying. And again, zero judgment. Zero judgment. Okay. So you took this loan. Yeah. Let's go back. What did you do with the loan?
I took the loan. This was 2015. I was newly employed, fresh from school. You know, when you're like, the future was bright. I was in your apartment.
Isn't it always?
It was like, I was in my, what do you call it? Like in my zone.
In your element.
In my element
here.
So I took the loan. I wanted to go back to school. Yes. I had taken a financial planning course, which I didn't.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember because I gave you my financial calculator.
Yes.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes.
Very
so
vividly.
the plan was for me to pay yours and go back to school. But as a young black professional who was a breadwinner, there were things at home that needed to be sorted out.
Okay.
So when the money came in from the loan, I had to sort out the things at home. And I told myself that I will make more money and I will go back to school. I never did. And it led to a bit of resentment because like I had this loan that I must now pay, but it didn't benefit me. It benefited the family. And I love my family, no doubt. But I'm not going to lie. There was a bit of me that was like, oh, you guys are holding me back. Yeah, so I spent it on black tax.
So, personally, I don't like the word black tax. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. So I want to find out. So you initially, the intent initially was to pay for your tuition.
Yes.
How did the family expenses come into being? And we have less than 3 minutes for this first
people
episode.
were sick. People had microloans that they had taken out. And they were not working, so I needed to finance that.
Why? In fact, let me not ask why. At that time, did you feel it was important to do that?
Yes.
And what were the reasons for you feeling that?
You know, you grow up as a young black child and your parents sacrifice so much to take you to school. For me, it was my single mother. So I felt like my mother has sacrificed certain parts of herself to make sure that I'm the person that I am today. So now that she's in trouble, I felt selfish for not helping out.
Okay.
So I wanted to help her out.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you talk to your mom about this, or are these what you were thinking?
The resentment.
No. When you saw your mom in trouble, did you sit down with her and say, I see you're in trouble, how can I assist you? Or did you automatically assume that I've got money that I can help her with?
I automatically assumed that I have money, let me help.
Okay, no, that's fine. Yeah. So now that you've helped the family, you don't have the qualification, and you're stuck with this debt, how does that make you feel?
For the longest time, it made me resentful.
To who? To you or to
the
bank
family,
or to the family?
To my mother.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you get to where you are now? Confident enough to stand, to be in front of the camera and talking about your journey. How did you get here?
You know, I just realized that all of the things, and it's not even the loan, it's all the things that I've been doing over the years for my family. I sort of realized that you're the one who does this. Nobody ever asks you. You're the one who just decides to put on the Superman cape and solve everyone else's problems. So as much as I feel like they've been demanding a lot out of me, I also offer. And I got to a point, I think this was around 2018, where I was like, no, this is what I'm willing to do, and this is where there's a line that I can now draw. And it was up to me to draw that boundary.
Boundaries.
Yes.
Boundaries.
Yes.
Boundaries. So I think we are almost out of time. And for me, it says for the very first episode, you've done well. The second episode is I want to pick it up from the boundaries to actually say, how do we get those boundaries in place? And then number 2, let's talk about that debt and the judgment that you thought was important. What are your views?
Okay. Yes, I obviously want to talk about those boundaries because you're the person that has to draw those boundaries. Remember I said in our podcast that I feel like we live so much of our lives, financial and otherwise, in the hands of other people. You get to that point where you're the one who draws boundaries. You're the one that sits with your family and says, okay guys, look, I can afford to do 1, 2, 3, and 4 for you and not more. And you even get to that place of self-love where you begin to prioritize yourself. Yes. And I think I've mentioned to you that my 30 was that year. I was like...
Thriving 30s.
Yes, I've been prioritizing other people. I'm going to prioritize myself, my looks, like you've mentioned. Yeah. I'm going to fix certain aspects of my life. And you're the only person that can do that.
Okay.
Yes.
And how does that make you feel? I almost sound like my colleagues.
Young love,
in fact,
your
no.
life.
Anyway, let's leave that for episode 2 of Young, Gifted,
So I shouldn't
and
answer.
Broke. No, let's leave it there.
Okay.
Let's talk back. Continued.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the very first episode of Young, Gifted, and Broke. This is a platform where Thakane is literally going to blankly put her finances out in the public, and we're going to help her change her relationship with her money such that she is a thriving 30-year-old. Hot, looking good, young, gifted, and money.
Thank you so much for your time.
Love, peace, and I'm almost gonna do my other platforms, but love,
Okay.
peace, and money. This is Young, Gifted, and Broke. My name is Thakane-Rethabile, financial coach. This is Thakane-Rethabile, the protege or the coachee, if you will. And we are taking you on a journey of mastering your finances in 2021. And I don't have all the answers, by the way. I'm also gonna learn from your stories. I'm a coach. I'm gonna share my experiences. I'm gonna share my failures with money as well. And I want to be as authentic and as genuine as possible. Love, peace, guys.
And money, like you always say.